Yo, what's up everybody, it's Fright Delight, and let's talk about Halloween Kills made in 2021. This was when movies like Nobody, Malignant, and Army of the Dead were made, which is pretty much a group of missionaries attempting to pull off a heist in a zombie-infested area. Now, Halloween Kills follows Laurie Strode and her family after the events of the last film during the same night attempting to get away from Michael's grasp as he attempts to make his way towards them for a second time. From what I understand, the general reception of the film is very mixed. Some people that like the movie say that the kills are top-notch, which should be a given because kills is in the name. And people really love that Michael is almost a central focal point more than he was in the previous films. On the other hand, people who didn't like the movie say the suspension of belief the film requires out of you almost takes you out the story. And speaking of the story, people also said it's unfocused, feeling like the movie is just trying to get from one kill to another, not providing a sense of satisfaction when the credits roll, unless you're looking for a turn your brain off slasher. Now, while I can see both sides of the field, I'm leaning more on one side than the other. And which side is that? Well, you'll see after I recap the movie and head off with a tier list. Now let's stop playing and watch Michael tear the town a new one. The movie starts out with Cameron on the phone trying to get a hold of his so-called friend Oscar, but he won't be answering anytime soon. While he's walking, he comes across Deputy Hawkins slayed out like Yamcha. Cameron calls out for help and Hawkins jump scares us into a flashback taking us to Halloween night in 1978 where he first encountered Michael Myers. The man used to have the aim of a stormtrooper, not even able to graze Michael with a bullet. I swear Haddonfield gotta have some of the worst officer training in fiction. Anyways, Michael escapes and Officer Hawkins talks to his partner Pete about the backstory of Michael. Then they dip off to the Myers house. As they enter the belly of the beast, they hear footsteps coming from upstairs and make their way towards the sound. The two investigate the different rooms until Pete makes the mistake in standing in Michael's favorite spot, bringing him out and getting slammed against the wall. While Mike is choking Pete, Hawkins takes his sweet ass time, and by the time he gets to his suffocating Pete, he's damn near dead. But to add insult to injury, Hawkins misses the shot and ends up hitting his partner in the neck. Somebody take this man's badge away. That's what Loomis should have did when he came through asking about Michael. But he alongside the police department surround Michael, making him surrender, or rather, this was all part of Michael's plan to begin with. This is a side note, but the makeup effects for Loomis are amazing because it looks just like him. And when I first seen this movie, I had to ask if it was CGI or the man came back from the grave. Back during the present time, we meet a few of the townsfolk at a local bar. The characters we encounter are Vanessa and her husband Marcus. We also meet Tommy Doyle, Lindsay, Mary, and Cameron's dad, Lonnie. Tommy is telling a scary story at the bar right as we catch up with Michael back at the burning house when the firefighters come. They start trying to stop the fire and one of them falls through the floor yelling, "Mayday, Mayday!" And Michael answers the call without question, turning his poor guy's head into mincemeat. The other firefighter gets to his partner, reaching his hand out in support, but we already know what happened to him, especially when Michael walks out like a menace ready to kill again. Michael ain't on a mission anymore, he's on a path of vengeance like Kratos. And he's almost offended that the first person that tries to defend himself sprinkles water on him. So he kills him real quick so he can get to the real challenge. Well, while Michael is laying our tax dollars to rest, Lori is being admitted into the hospital. Hopefully she has insurance. If not, you better pull the plug. Karen and Allison are comforting each other, hoping for the best, probably concerned about that medical bill. It doesn't take long for Michael to get to another victim's crib in the meantime and dribbles their head on a wall, then pulls them through the window while his wife watches. Miss Sandra attempts to get away, and instead of leaving after unlocking the door, she grabs a knife and tries to fight back, or do whatever this is. As she bleeds out, Michael drags her husband onto the table and tests various knives on him until he can find one that fits his hand right. Back at the bar, Marcus and his wife has a conversation about the local legends of the town. This is when Lonnie gets a call from his son telling him about what happened to Officer Hawkins. He leaves him before the rest of the crew can react. The two escapees from the sanitarium are reported on TV. For whatever reason, they show pictures but don't give their names. And you can argue for privacy reasons, but if there's a mass murder on the loose, I think it would be essential to know, especially if it's Michael fucking Myers. The married couple get nervous and slide out of there, but Marcus left his damn stethoscope.
What the hell is wrong with you, Marcus?
As soon as Vanessa starts the car, she sees movement in the back seat and wastes no time running back to the bar yelling Michael's in her car, which gets Tommy riled up, grabbing a bat and going to see what's going on. You think whoever's in that car is gonna stop because you have a bat? Hell no. Tommy in the town found that out real quick when the person drives off, almost running them over like a speed bump. He drives off and doesn't make it far. The aftermath of the crash is found by the townspeople. It's actually the second patient, not Michael Myers, getting away. This is when we cut to a renovated Myers house and meet a couple of characters, Big John and Lil John. While they talk about who's gonna be bottom tonight, they get a knock at the door from the neighborhood kids. One of them choked on a razor blade, but it ends up being a prank that distracts the two enough to get finessed out their candy. Man, they should have took that belt off and whooped their ass like Craig and Smokey. Back at the hospital, Cameron made his way to Allison to give her an apology and to let her know that his dad and Tommy are organizing a team to take care of Michael Myers themselves. She decides to be part of the squad, and after a bit of pushback from her mom, she slides with the townspeople getting locked and loaded in search of Michael Myers. The first group we follow is with Marcus, Vanessa, Lindsay, and Marion. They pull up to a park telling a couple of clueless kids to go home. They don't listen to Lindsay until they see Michael off in the distance holding their friend's decapitated head. As the kids run off, Michael jumps onto the car and smashes through the window to grab Marion. Vanessa takes this time to slide while Marcus helps Marion and she tries to return the favor.
Hey, Michael! This is for Dr. Loomis.
Michael makes mincemeat out her quick, and Marcus tries to help but gets his fire extinguished. Finally, Vanessa shows back up but misses every meaningful shot except for the one that happens to strike her in the head. Fucking dummy. While Michael stands over Vanessa's lifeless body, Lindsay whacks him over the head with some bricks, but pays the price for it when we catch up with the search and destroy team later that night. They came across her barely alive along with the others' deceased bodies hung up in a decorative way. Tommy takes her straight to the hospital to get patched up, then gives everyone there a speech and starts a catchphrase that almost single-handedly drops the movie's quality.
Evil dies tonight!
Evil dies tonight!
Remember everyone, there were some people that sat in a room with a straight face thinking they were John Hancock in that shit. Anyways, after the speech, Tommy goes to Lori's room after she wakes up. Tommy lets them know that Michael is still alive, but he's gonna protect her like she did so long ago. He rushes out of there and thinks he sees Michael and rushes towards the scene. Back with Big John and Lil John, they're investigating the house after hearing strange noises coming from upstairs. Big John immediately gets stabbed in his armpit from behind and gets both his eyes gouged out with no mercy. Then Michael starts staring out the window when Lil John catches him and gives us this whack-ass line.
You've come home.
Lil John gives a horrific scream as he succumbs to Michael's wrath. All while the patient Tommy thought was Michael tries to avoid the wrath of the townspeople, running through the hallway as fast as he can. He runs right by an out-of-bed Lori and she immediately knows that's not Michael. The worst thing about it is that this weak-ass doctor tries to move her out the way, but she uses a move on her that her body wasn't ready for and puts herself out of commission. Karen, with the help of an officer, helped Lori get back to bed while the patient is still on the run, moving further and further towards the top. As Karen leaves to go follow him, Oh damn. Now, as she follows him upstairs, Hawkins confesses to Lori that it was him that kept Michael alive all those years ago. After Michael surrendered, Loomis was going to put him down, but before he could, Hawkins stopped him, saving his life. His reason is because he could see a man behind the mask with a heart, but now he sees as clear as day that he's pure evil. Lori doesn't seem bothered by it, instead telling him that she's gonna kill that evil tonight. At the same time, Karen catches up to the patient mistaken for Michael Myers and tries to help him hide, but all she does is trap the man in the hallway. As the mob is trying to break through the door, the patient makes the decision to break through the window and jump off the ledge, killing himself. Once Tommy gets down to floor level, he's told that the person that died wasn't Michael, and you can clearly see that, but he still asks this dumbass question in denial.
He's always worn a mask, Lee. How do we know it's not him? How do we know, Lee?
Allison and the crew finally figure out all Michael wanted to do was go home, and that's exactly where they pull up to. Lonnie tells the two to stay in the car while he investigates, and not even 20 seconds into him being inside, there's a gunshot heard causing Allison and Cameron to rush in. It kind of reminded me of when SpongeBob wanted to get into the Salty Spittoon, and when he finally did, he slipped on an ice cube. It's probably not the best comparison, but that's what came to mind. The two roam downstairs thinking Michael might be in this closet, but he's not. He's upstairs, and they figure that out real quick when they hear footsteps above them. Allison and Cameron make their way up there and finds the bodies of Big John and Lil John. Allison stays behind while Cameron checks the rest of the rooms, and as he's slowly inching forward down the hall, blood drips on his hand. He looks up, finding his dad squished in between the attic door like a roach and doesn't have enough time to react as Michael blitzes him. He gets stabbed twice before Allison tries to help, but Mike ain't having none of that and says, "Bitch, wait your turn," then throws her down the stairs, breaking her leg. He then gets a hold of Cameron and ends his life, but Michael double taps him to make sure he's dead before he gets to Allison. She pulls out a knife and of course gets overpowered, but her mom Karen came through in the nick of time to stab him in the back and stomp him out. She even has enough time to take his mask off. This wakes Michael back up and makes him forget all about Allison, following Karen a block across the street, setting him up to get whacked by the entire town. Michael puts his mask on, then proceeds to get turned every way but loose, and even gets shot multiple times. It's not over as Michael gets beat repeatedly and eventually stabbed in the back by Karen. Sometime later that night, Karen gets back to Allison waiting for the cops to arrive, and on the other side of the block, Brackett is about to end the shake for good, but his neck gets sliced open and Mike makes a stand, killing every townsperson one by one and saves Tommy for last. As we catch up with Karen, she looks out the window, taking it all in before Michael sneaks behind her, ending her life. Seconds later, a concerned Lori calls in, hearing ominous breathing, making her leave the hospital with a knife in hand, seeking Michael's head, ending the movie. Alright homies, that was the end of Halloween Kills, a film that in my opinion could have been one of the best in the franchise if it wasn't for the poor execution of the theme. Start with some of the positives. Outside of the kills, which I'll get to, I think the flashback is the most impressive and probably the best part of the film. The way the flashback was portrayed made me excited for the rest of the movie. From the great casting to the film grain used to make it feel like it took place in 1978 had me in a state of awe the entire time. The detail into even making the mask look like the original is something I would have never thought to see because of this franchise's track record, but I'm happy I did. Another positive I have for the film is its cohesiveness. And all of the same characters from the last movie are in this one, even if they had a smaller role, which adds to the believability of this actually being the same night. I was kind of happy when I seen Lil Julian on screen talking about his babysitter or some of the people in the bar that were just hanging around. It made it feel like an actual small town where everyone knew everyone, adding to the lore of the neighborhood. I wish more sequels would do this instead of getting a whole new cast of people to tell the same story. My next positives go hand in hand, and that's Michael and the vast amount of quality kills he provides. I don't know about you, but to me, this film easily has the best kills collectively in the franchise. From beginning to end, Michael was on a revenge tour and didn't miss a step to the end of the movie, and we'll get to that. But every kill Michael did was unique and made me ask, what is he gonna do next? Building the anticipation lasting the entire movie. When you see Michael coming out that burning house taking down those firefighters, or when he gouges Big John's eyes out, it either gets you excited or grossly curious about the next sick thing he's gonna do. James Jude Courtney couldn't have played the role any better than what he did in these first two films. His movements are as seamless as ever, and he's perfected that head tilt like Rick Grimes. And the last positive I have is that this is actually a pretty funny movie. Now, by no means am I saying this is the comedy of the year, but comparing it to all the other films in this franchise, I found myself laughing more than I thought I would. My comedy taste might be shot a bit, but when Big John and Lil John were calling out for each other, I chuckled a bit. Even though not all the attempts at comedy landed, it landed better than it did in the first film and actually helped with building the community as its own entity because everyone has a personality. Now on to the negatives, which breaks my heart more than my first heartbreak. And that was the execution of the mob mentality within the hospital. I think that, coupled with "evil dies tonight," shoots this movie in the foot big time. Now I get that David Gordon Green wants to portray the town getting consumed by the evil planted by Michael Myers and how easy it is for misinformation to spread and change opinions to the detriment of themselves. There's no problem with what he was talking about, but when it came to the execution, it was almost insulting to me to having to watch an entire town of people led by Tommy fucking Doyle chase a person that clearly looks nothing like Michael Myers for half the movie. This was the laziest way to increase runtime in my opinion. And if they want to keep that same storyline, maybe they could have had somebody that looked somewhat similar to him. Plus that Evil Dies Tonight was goofy as hell. Maybe, just maybe, this is the actual genius of David Gordon Green, and this is actually showing us how society lacks interest looking deeper into things and takes the first thing they hear as fact, even if common sense should tell them otherwise. Looking at it in that context almost makes this a positive for me, but that damn Evil Dies Tonight chant was way too out there for me and my taste. My next negative for the film isn't really big to me, but it does get ridiculous after a while, and that is the character decision making. A few of the decisions that the characters make just so they can be a victim to Michael make you scratch your head, like when that old lady unlocks her side door but doesn't try to escape. That scene along some of the others make you question things, but that's the name of the game in a lot of horror movies, especially in the slasher genre, so I'm not as unforgiving as some of you might be. And my last negative for this film is the ending when Michael took on the entire town by himself. This is when he started transcending being immortal, almost becoming a zombie, which might have made more sense than him just taking all of those stabs and gunshots back to back with almost no damage. The man gets back up and starts slaying everyone one by one like nothing happened to him, which damn near took me out the movie. It honestly felt like the writers didn't know how to have Michael kill the mob, so they just threw some shit together hoping we forgive it. I don't, and I'm not sure I ever will. But outside of those issues, I could still have a great time with this movie, even without alcohol, making it the first movie in the spooky sober category. Well, homies, if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much for making it this far. Let me know what you thought about Halloween Kills in the comments below, even if you disagree with me. And if you enjoyed this video and have any movies you want me to cover in the future, put that in the comments below too. Go ahead and send the whole town to kill that like and subscribe button if you want to see more reviews like this, and I appreciate y'all coming to a Fright Delight. I'll catch y'all later. Peace.